just quickly, we're going to do the technical side. We're going to do a full episode on this next week. But just to give like a brief introduction into this section to lead into next week, I've split this into 3 sections. The first one is aero. That F1 aero is the thing that makes cars like different to everything else. So the engines are great and stuff, and F1 cars can hit 210 miles an hour easily. And there's loads of YouTube videos of them doing drag races with Bugatti Veyrons and all of this. But the aero is the key thing.
Oh, they're much quicker, by the way. Just
yeah, they still win. But the main thing is the corners. Like, F1 cars corner at incredible speeds, which...
To put it into context, an F1 car can go around like a corner, like say if a normal car goes around at like 50, 60 kilometers an hour, an F1 car can go around at like say 200 kilometers per hour.
Yeah,
comfortably.
So the safety car actually is a good example of this. So the safety car is either a Mercedes AMG car, like a very good Mercedes AMG, or it's an Aston Martin like Vantage, I think they use.
It's like a sports car, it's a high-end sports car.
It's a high-end sports car. The safety car driver goes almost as fast as they can around the circuit when they're trying. The F1 cars follow them in first gear. Like when they're behind the safety car, the guy's trying as hard as he can to go around the lap, and they're complaining that he's not going fast enough while they're sat in first gear. So that's the difference between the two.
To put it into context, like in certain circuits, like the average speed can go up to like 280 kilometers per hour. I think Monza is something like that.
I don't know the conversions to be honest, but like I think that's
essentially like most of the lap is just flat out on the accelerator, like as in they don't lift pretty much.
Yeah, like I think like a funny thing that people came up with was like even back in 2011, I think past 160 miles per hour, an F1 car produces enough downforce, which is the opposite of lift. Like planes produce lift as the air goes over them to help them like fly. F1 cars do the opposite of this to stick them to the ground. And at 160 miles an hour, the air is moving fast enough for them to counteract their own weight in downforce, which in simple terms means if they were driving upside down, they'd be able to carry on driving upside down. So if you have an F1 car going above 160 miles an hour, in theory, it could drive upside down.
Yeah, so there was someone had asked Daniel Ricciardo about this. So like, technically speaking, in a tunnel, an F1 car can essentially go in on the ground and go wee and just like drive fully upside down and go down. Like that's how much downforce it is.
It's something Red Bull would do. I'm surprised they haven't. They've definitely probably tried it. Like that's such a Red Bull thing to do.
No, I don't. I think it's too dangerous. Like because like someone like maybe they can try it now with like the Halo. I think before the Halo they don't know.
That's true actually. Yeah.
But I don't think there's a tunnel long enough for them to actually try this because you need to be like at full speed, and then you need like the junction between the ground and like the tunnel to be like tarmac to be perfect, and then you need that to be tarmac perfect.
Yeah, so that's a good point.
It's way too complicated.
Either way, we've Red Bull has produced like if you watch anything on Red Bull, they love doing insane stuff, extreme sports. They've done a lot of stuff with their F1 cars. Like they had them I think drive up against like drive on snow. They put like special tires and chains on the tires. They've had it push against rugby players. I think there were like 11 rugby players like pushing against the F1 car. Yeah, they've done a lot.
The rugby players held it though. I was quite surprised.
It was impressive to be fair. Solid stuff. There's strict rules about the aero because otherwise the cars would get too fast for their own good, and you need them to be safe at least because if one thing goes wrong, it's all over. But that's why they're so sensitive because. They're made out of carbon fibre, which makes them very light, but it also makes them so fragile. So...
carbon fibre is not fragile. Carbon fibre is strong, but when you're going into the wall at like 10, 15 Gs...
Do you want to explain what Gs are as well? Like the
G-force, okay, yeah. So G-force is the amount of like... So sitting down here, we're experiencing 1 G, which is 1 bar, I guess. But like... How do you explain this?
We've got like the weight of our bodies.
Yeah, you're experiencing one of the weight of your body.
Yeah, 1 times the weight of our body.
Yeah.
Right now, acting downwards.
Exactly. That's from the pressure of like the air essentially. But when you're in like say an airplane, like fighter pilots can experience up to 9 Gs, and that 9 Gs is the maximum a human can actually experience. So. Like Formula 1 drivers, they experience it slightly different from fighter pilots. Fighter pilots experience it over the whole of their body. So if you look at like some of the US Air Force, they have some of them where they they train them essentially, and you see their face just goes like they age 50 years in like 2
Yeah,
seconds.
it's the funny spinny thing where they
Yeah.
send people in that little like cage cube looking thing and they spin them around really fast.
But essentially, the fighter pilots experience it over the course of their whole body, which is essentially it's like multiplying your body weight by like say 8 or 7 or whatever, and that's how much force you're experiencing. Formula One drivers, because they're strapped in, and because the way the car actually operates, it's not going up or down; it's just going sideways essentially on the front. They only experience lateral, so it's only in this plane essentially. So it's either
sideways.
like to the front, so like backwards and forwards, or to the sides. The max the experience will be like about 5 Gs, but think about it this way: you have the weight of your head, and then the helmet on top of it, and that's pushing at your neck. So if a Formula One driver is driving, he turns, his head goes this way. If his neck can't withstand this, he misses the corner, and then he just crashes.
And that's even more G's when you crash it.
And then when you stop as well, like, so their brakes, when they stop, their brakes are so strong that, like, you see, like, amateur drivers, essentially, their head goes like but, like, you see even Formula One drivers, their head moves ahead of it, but they need to essentially keep their head, like, be able to resist all this force to be able to actually corner. And so by the end of, this is why, like, drivers lose, like, 2 kgs per race, is the amount of force that their body is essentially experiencing throughout the race.
Yeah.
And for them, that's why you find like Formula One drivers have massive necks. It's because of all that resistance.
Yeah, so they physically have to train their necks for these forces. And every time they make an action on the car, because they're going so fast, and because the aero allows them to go this fast, they have to withstand these forces. Because if you're turning left, your head gets thrown right and then the other way. And if you brake, you get sent forwards, like you said. So
if you go quickly to the front, your hand gets sent back. But that's the least of your worries, because it's actually supported if it goes back.
yeah, you've got the thing behind your head. So that sums up the aero. I think actually, to be fair, you can explain DRS in this one as well, because it counts as aero.
Okay. DRS is what's called a drag reduction system, which essentially is on the rear wing. If you ever watch a Formula One race, you see the rear wing opens. And so the whole idea behind it is, if the rear wing opens, you generate less drag, and if you generate less drag, you can go a bit quicker. And so the whole idea is, if you're close enough, you can open the rear wing, and essentially what happens is you open it, like you can see in the picture here, it opens here.
What's going on?
If you go down.
Not a Sun article.
Yeah, so it opens up here. So this is an open rear wing, which, like, I don't know if you can actually see it. Like, it's open here, like you can see on top here. But when it closes, this black part goes up, and essentially what happens is to make it like better for cars to race after each other, because you generate less drag, you can go a bit quicker, you can catch up to whoever's leading the race essentially.
Yeah, so just like the sectors, there's a certain point, it's a white line, and just before the straight, this white line is called the DRS detection point. If you're within 1 second of the car ahead, then there's another line coming up probably a few meters later that a white light shows up and it says, alright, you can use DRS. You use DRS in the straight, you overtake the car if you can, and then when you brake, it closes, or you press a button and it closes, because it's only allowed within the certain straights, like they're designated zones. You're allowed it in qualifying as well to speed up the times as well. So,
So DRS in the race is not over the whole racetrack, but rather specific zones that are set out where you can safely essentially use DRS.
yeah, because otherwise you're not producing enough downforce to go quickly around the corners, so you'd end up spinning out or something.